Intensifying between federal agents and protesters back here at home in Minneapolis. Demonstrators taking to the streets for yet another day, pushing back against the Trump administration's immigration crackdown. Flashbangs lighting up the skies. Late last night, you can see the protesters there rushing to get away from the smoke and the blinding lights. Newly released video obtained by Bring Me the News also showing agents arresting 2 workers at a Target in Minnesota. A state lawmaker says both workers are U.S. citizens.
Just look at what is happening in our own backyard right now. Something unprecedented is unfolding in the Twin Cities. And honestly, if you haven't seen the raw footage yet, you need to lean in and listen close. We are witnessing what local leaders are straight up calling a paramilitary invasion right here on American soil in Minneapolis and St. Paul. The stakes, they literally couldn't be higher. We're talking about families afraid to step onto their porches, journalists just trying to document the truth getting targeted, and the very system of laws we all rely on being pushed to the brink. You see this too, right? This isn't just some minor policy shift or a bit of red tape. It is a fundamental shift in the very atmosphere of American streets. Thousands of armed, masked federal agents have descended on these neighborhoods, and we're talking about Operation Metro Surge. Now, look, some people are going to try and frame this as routine enforcement or just following orders. But the reality, the streets of North Minneapolis have been turned into an absolute theater of war. We've seen flashbang grenades, pepper pellets, chemical irritants, all used against unarmed protesters and the press. I mean, we have a reporter who was struck in the head by a munition while just doing their job. This isn't just about immigration anymore. It's about what happens when the lines between local law enforcement and military actions start to disappear entirely. To really get how we landed here, we've got to rewind to the start of this month. The federal government teased this largest ever crackdown, but man, it escalated fast. It went from administrative stops to something much more aggressive, much more violent. History has shown us loud and clear that when you drop specialized tactical units into a city without talking to local leaders, the results are tragic. We saw the blueprint in Portland, and now we are seeing the sequel in Minnesota. Think about how this hits home. If a federal agency can just bypass your mayor, bypass your governor, and surge into your city with this kind of force, and that ripple effect reaches every community. We've all felt this tension building, haven't we? It's heavy. If you want to keep track of every single detail as this unfolds, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. We're tracking this minute by minute because every day this drags on. The consequences for our civil liberties just keep stacking higher. Within just hours of things turning ugly, the reaction was immediate, and frankly, it was fractured. You had the Department of Homeland Security putting out these polished press releases, claiming they're only removing the worst of the worst and heinous criminals. But guys, the footage on the ground, it tells a completely different story. Sure, you've got some people cheering the tough on crime optics, but others, including the Minnesota Attorney General himself, are calling this a blatant violation of the Constitution. And here's the kicker. The real story isn't what they're saying in those press conferences. It's what they are refusing to say about the impact on regular, everyday people. Let's really break down the mechanics here. DHS is using a strategy of saturation, but history, it tells us saturation rarely makes anyone safer. Why? Because it completely destroys the trust between a community and the law. And the scale this time, it is massive. We are looking at roughly 2,000 agents shoved into a single metro area. Local businesses are shuttering. Local police are burning through overtime. They don't have the economic toll alone is staggering. We are seeing something comparable to the most intense civil unrest in our history, but this time it's being driven by a direct order from the top. You see this, right? And this isn't some abstract political debate. This is about children who had to watch their schools go into lockdown because of federal maneuvers. It's about Renee Good, a mother of 3, a U.S. citizen, who was fatally shot by an ICE agent in the first week of this surge. This is about your right to live in a community that governs itself without a federal invasion just overriding everything. But then the tables turned, and I don't think they saw this coming. Nobody expected the state of Minnesota and the cities of Minneapolis and St. Paul to fire back with a massive federal lawsuit this quickly. They aren't just making noise, and they are suing for a violation of the 10th Amendment.
We're filing against the United States Department of Homeland Security to end the unlawful, unprecedented surge of the federal law enforcement agents into Minnesota, because this has to stop.
That is where the narrative shifted. This isn't just a local protest anymore. It is a full-blown constitutional crisis. If you dismiss this story, you are ignoring the 1 4-year-olds being detained, the families whose cars were rammed by unmarked vans, and the journalists being hunted for holding a camera. And we cannot look away. So where does that leave us this week? We saw the courts finally step in. Legal filings are flying around faster than the news can even report them. The markets in the region are feeling the tremor, and you can bet politicians on both sides are scrambling to change their scripts. But for now, the narrative doesn't belong to the bureaucrats. It belongs to the people of the Twin Cities. And they are refusing to be intimidated. They are standing right outside the hotels where these agents are staying, making it clear, we are watching you. What's happening here is so much bigger than one city or one operation. It's about power. It's about who actually delivers on the promise of public safety. We've all seen how clarity and truth beat standard procedure every single time. And we've all felt that sinking feeling when leadership fails to protect the basic dignity of its people. This isn't just about immigration law. It's about whether our streets belong to us or to the agencies that want to patrol them. Looking ahead, Operation Metro Surge has changed the game for every major city in America. It's a signal. It's a preview of what might come in the next election, the next crisis, the next policy fight. Leaders now have to face a reality where federal forces can be used as a political sledgehammer. And believe me, the people will remember this. They'll remember the sound of the flashbangs. They'll remember the sight of masked men in their driveways. If you give a damn about how this unfolds, your voice is the only thing that matters right now. Like the video, drop a comment, and stay subscribed. Be part of this conversation because we need accountability. Don't let this story just fade into the background. We all saw it. We all know what happened. And now we wait to see how the next chapter in the courts plays out.